welcome to the Economic Briefcase on CAMNET TV. I'm your host, Vazoka. Today with me in the studio is our co-host,
Mr. Japao.
Mr. Japao. Yeah, he calls himself Mr.
Before I start calling myself.
So today, we are going to discuss the economic state of the nation. And in our studio with us is a very good friend of mine, somebody whom when we put the advert today, everybody said that they were going to join because this person says it the way it is. And Honorable HAMUDUDU, it's a pleasure to have you.
Dr. Vazoka, it's always a great pleasure to be with you, and Mr. Japao, I'm happy to be here.
Now, today, since we are discussing the economy, not today is a holiday. I don't know how free we are, but it's a holiday. Before we go into the details, maybe we check what's happening on the financial markets.
Market update. As of today, the 25th of May, 2023, the kwacha against the four major currencies. The dollar closed selling at 19 kwacha, 22 ngwe. The pound closed selling at 23 kwacha, 84 ngwe. The euro closed selling at 20 kwacha, 74 ngwe. The rand closed selling at 1 kwacha. Selected metal prices. Copper closed selling at $7,940 per ton. Aluminium closed selling at $2,218. Zinc closed selling at $2,252 per ton. Nickel closed selling at $21,205. Lead closed selling at $2,064. Tin closed selling at $24,535 per ton. Crude oil prices, WTI crude closed selling at $81.13. Brent crude closed selling at $87.28.
So when you look at the prices, fuel prices are going down. The exchange rate is something else. I know as per tradition we normally first begin introducing the guest, but this is not the first time you are coming here, so we're not going to do that. By the way, dear viewers, those of you watching us on Facebook, YouTube, on MouthChoice, that is GSTV, and any other media, you can also join us just a little bit later. We're going to open the phone lines. Today we are discussing the economic state of the nation, and when we were going through the rates, there's one time Honorable HAMUDUDU said, and that was on the exchange rate. We begin with that.
From there.
Yes. Why? What is happening to the kwacha?
First of all, before I answer that question, Dr. Vazoka, how I wish in the next market updates we can see the indicators on the people's economy, the prices for maize, prices for soybeans, prices for sunflower, prices for groundnuts and other emerging crops, prices for livestock. But we know how the market is doing with our real economy. While we appreciate, of course, we are part of the mining economy, it will be very interesting to know the prevailing prices of what people are producing. The majority of our people.
That is correct.
I said she on the
the
exchange rate. I mean, I'm not shocked. The kwacha has no support base over time because we are not exporting much. The main determinant of the exchange rate is demand and supply, and the supply is quite weak. If you check out all economic sectors now, mining is on a slump by production figures in the last 2 years.
Yes.
Despite the few investments announced, we haven't seen a corresponding increase in production. And then the issue of Mopani, the impasse on Mopani and KCM have a telling effect on the increase in export production, which have an import on the power of the exchange rate. Again, of the kwacha. The other sectors, which are for me are more important, like agriculture, there's nothing happening really. There has been no really increase. Minister announced now 3.3 metric tons of maize. That's not an increase because we had gone down and then we're just going back to where we were a year before. So when you look at all the economic sectors, there has been no increase. except trading, retail, which is basically owned by foreigners. And the money does not stay here. Perhaps also IT, which is basically a platform now for doing things.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen serious improvement or increase in any sector of our economy, and therefore I'm not surprised that the exchange rate of our kwacha versus convertible currencies is like that. And it will continue like that because really it has no legs to stand on. The last time we had a strengthened kwacha was because Bank of Zambia was offloading dollars to support it. And I think now that money is no longer there. The reserves are coming down and they cannot support it anymore. We'll have to do something about propping up production. And this is our biggest weakness as a country. Propping up production, putting the country to work. I'm talking of the actual citizens. And also getting a significant, what we have been calling for, Dr. Bazoka, a significant ownership of this economy. The majority part of the economy, the major part of this economy must be owned by Zambians. You cannot mortgage your economy to foreigners and then you become slaves in your own country by being workers. That has many repercussions. One of it is that the money won't stay here. The little forex that comes here from, that is generated from this country is driven by companies owned by foreigners, and they put money offshore. And therefore, there is no guarantee that we'll have a strong currency unless we change the economic play through policies as a country.
You spoke about copper and nothing happening in the agriculture sector. There's also the price volatility when it comes to prices of different crops in the agriculture sector. And you commented about it recently, saying the announcement of these prices by various government agencies is not good for the farmers. What do you propose should be done around that?
First of all, there are a lot of things that are missing in the country to prop up agriculture. Post-1991, we liberalized, including agricultural policy, and we left farmers, basically threw them away to survive by their own means. The institutions that were created to support agriculture, basically, were put away. Rima Bank, NAMBOD, the success of NAMBOD, Zambia Cooperative Federation, which were really facilitative institutions to support agriculture, have all collapsed. And from 1991, at the demise of these institutions in the 1990s, we have never had institutions supporting local agriculture. And we come from the rural areas. The poverty you see in the rural areas is because we have a very weak agricultural production, because over 70% of our people are in agriculture, and there are no supportive institutions, both at financing and at marketing. Even when Zambia created through an act of parliament the Food Reserve Agency, the Food Reserve Agency is only to the extent of national food security, and they have a limited amount they buy. So FRA is not a marketing agency. It is there just to secure national food security for the key food items like maize and a few. And therefore, then you have a very weak private sector, because the lack of financing to agriculture applies to the private sector. Right now, we have basically very little private sector. And because of that, our farmers, when they've tried to grow other crops, the returns are quite low. The returns are quite low. Look this year, FRA, which poses as a marketing agency, which is not, they announce prices, as you are saying, after the harvest. You don't do that. FRA, even when it is just for food security, it must announce prices before the farming season, indicative prices, because by then they already know the cost of production, so that the prices of what they are buying is cost reflective, because agriculture is a business. No one will produce something at a loss, and for a very long time farmers have been producing maize at a loss, And that's why the poverty, that's why the unemployment, that's why the growing inequality in this country.
Some people argue that it's because the sector is supported through initiatives like FISIP and the others.
Well, first of all, let's look at FISIP in its right context. When the MMD, closed those institutions that were supporting agriculture, it was realized later under Mwanawasa that we have destroyed farming in our country, and the country became highly food insecure. By the time President Mwanawasa came in office in 2002, because the elections were at the end of the year,
yes.
So he really came into presidency in the year 2002. The country was hungry. 2002, 2003, and then he decided to bring what I call an ad hoc measure. The Farmer Input Support Program was basically to improve household food security, not to grow the sector. Because when you look at that program and the money we put there, it cannot grow the sector. And that's why, despite the increase in the population, we are a young population, the growth, even in the crops that are supported by Farmer Input Support Program, has not been in tandem with the increase in population. That's why you are seeing a mismatch. A country like this, like Zambia, to have a shortage in meal, even if you export to Congo, it's a misnomer because our capacity is so huge. And so the Farmer Input Support Program was meant for small-scale farmers and for a brief period. They were supposed to be graduating. And I think in the original program, they are supposed to get support, I don't know whether it's 3 years, and then they graduate. Then you take the next farmers. Because like now we have about 3 million farmers, and the government only supports 1 million farmers, the local farmers. 2 million are unsupported. Okay, so this was take it as an ad hoc measure, awaiting for a proper agricultural support program, like for example financing. I would rather, after we stabilize the food security, when we introduced FISIP, a government should have begun to recreate financing institutions. Simply to make it clear, bring back Lima Bank in a better way, better managed. Bring back Nambot in a better way.
The replacement of FISIP, what is it called again?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I mean, that's just a word. The issue is that it must come through actual policies and institutions. On what pillars is the agricultural policies standing? It's not clear today. Number one is, for example, financing. This is the only country in this region, outside this country, that went to war, like DRC, Angola, Mozambique. I mean, I'm talking of a normal country that never went to war. This is the only country which has no specific agricultural financing bank or institution. Go to Namibia, you find Agribank. Go to Botswana, go to South Africa. They have institutions that support agriculture. Why? Agricultural financing is unique. So this country has no agricultural financing. That's why you see this huge unemployment, because for us to deal with unemployment in a bigger way, the people's sector must receive enough support, while other sectors are important, because agriculture houses the majority of Zambians. And this unemployment, you see, the poverty, inequality that is growing, is because the sector where the majority are involved is not supported properly. And therefore, there are very few returns there, and people are becoming poorer, but the number is increasing. And therefore, any agricultural reform must answer to a few pillars. Number one, financing. Concessional financing, financing to agriculture that speaks to agricultural uniqueness with grace periods. We were there before. I worked for ZCO Finance Services, as a young graduate, before these things were sabotaged. That was economic sabotage in the 1990s. So we need financing back. Number two, we need a mechanism to link the producers to markets at home and abroad, because exports is what grows an economy, and therefore we need an export-oriented agriculture, because we are not many in this country. If we go full production in agriculture, 20 million people is a very small market, and therefore we must be thinking of exports, and therefore we need a NAM board. What is a commodities exchange? Something maybe co-run between government and the private sector that will buy farm produce from Shangombo to a market somewhere. It could be South Sudan. That could link a farmer in Lundazi to a market in Katanga. That will link, a farmer in Choma to a market elsewhere. You know the warehousing system where, and this thing does not require a lot of money. Why? An export-oriented marketing does not require so much money from government, because the export market has the money. So we just need a warehouse system where, as a farmer in Mpongwe, you just go and deposit your crops and they give you a paper, which is as good as money. And you can discount it to Dr. Habazoga if you want the money now. And then there will be a lead time in which you get your money. Within a month or so, your products could have been sold. With this big market that is emerging now within the neighborhood, there's one advantage Zambia has. The advantage is that we are surrounded with neighbors whose agriculture potential, not potential, whose agriculture is very low, maybe due to war, and people have not acquired skills. So for Zambia, we have the land and we have the manpower, and we have the peace, because our land has no landmines, and we have the population now. There is a new wave of educated young people now who are ready to go into agriculture to create work and wealth for themselves, and that is not happening. So financing, marketing, okay, increase the extension services. I was even suggesting that because of the years we've been very poor in extension services, why don't we put a mechanism where when school children close in that 1 month, the farmers go in day classes to learn new farming methods and the emerging crops. There is science that is ever developing in agriculture. I am a farmer, I'm a little farmer, and you see that, these people lack very basic farming knowledge. Issues of plant population, issues of crop rotation to preserve the land. So these pillars must be in place. Number 4, enlarging the market. Open the borders. Sir, you know, you are an economic guru, that no economy grows without exports. Mm-hmm. Open the borders. Don't bottle the people's economy. And then we must be consistent. Now, the mining sector, we are asking for consistency, predictability. But the people's economy, there is no predictability. Last year, government, for example, excited farmers by buying soybeans at 11 kwacha per kg. This year, they throw the farmer away. And you know, farmers grew soybean, expecting to sell at a minimum price of 11 kwacha per kg. The price has plummeted now to about 4 kwacha per kg. That is economic sabotage on the farmers. We don't, in the mining sector, we have been very quick to give them predictable and clear policies. On agriculture, we are not clear, and we are damaging the majority of our people. Even now, I want to appeal that government should find money. A sovereign government cannot fail to find money. If it means cutting unnecessary expenditure now, if it means having a supplementary budget, government should just find the money, work with some private sector or give them some guarantees to buy soybeans and other cash crops which farmers have grown this year in huge quantities at a better price. To sell soybeans, as I'm seeing now, at 5 kwacha per kg and below, it's damaging. It's damaging to our people. I have received calls from Kasempa, from Pongwe, from Lundazi, from Choma, everywhere. The topic now is that why has government done this? A sovereign government must always come to the rescue of its people. And this is one issue government can do, and it's not too late. I wish that the National Farmers Union and government can have an ad hoc, a quick emergency meeting and find a solution. A government can never fail to find a solution. That's why it's called sovereign. It is the last defense of its people. If it means really stopping some of these expenses in this huge bureaucracy of ours, stop with these workshops, stop the traveling, suspend some of these offices, just to save some money to buy these cash crops, government must do that as a matter of agency and emergency.
So you spoke about government needing to find money to support the agricultural sector.
Yeah.
And there are issues of debt restructuring going on. What are your comments? What are your challenges? What do you think are the challenges that we are facing?
Mr. Japao, it's very interesting in this country. I have to drink water, because this is very important. Doc, first of all, debt restructuring is one aspect of economic management. And some people think that when this is done, and we all support it, if this is done, then it will be a silver plate. Not at all. Since Zambia went into a default, I don't think we have been servicing. You need to.
We have not been.
We have not been servicing. We have been servicing debt. It means that in the last 2 years, from 2020 going to 3 years, there has been a silent repayment moratorium. So where is that fiscal space going? That we cannot even buy simple soybeans. It means that government expenditure continues to rise, and on the consumption side. So even when this debt restructuring comes through, the little fiscal space will not give us the progress we need, because our priorities are not right. In Parliament, there was a debate, for example, that why don't we reduce some of this unnecessary expenditure, which for what some people call it the legal waste. We don't need district commissioners. We don't need 25 ministries. We can do with 20 ministries or less. We need to reduce travel. And there are all manner of allowances and workshops, and begin to put money in to support production. Support the farmers. Support the entrepreneurs. Right now, there was a meeting on Friday. It's on Friday. Oh, no. It's yesterday.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, on Wednesday. At the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprises. The government was saying that we have empowerment funds and people applied. The applications are up to the tune of 16 billion. The allocation in the budget is 297 million. That is a misnomer. Because these local Zambians have no access to affordable financing in this country. And the only affordable financing is CEC created by President Mwanawasa. But what we have been putting there is too little. For me, I could have even suggested that the increased CDF, perhaps maybe it could have just been 10 million, and the other 20, like this year, 10 million to CDF per constituency, and take the other money to CEC. Because CEC is a productive expenditure, it's a revolving fund. We all appreciate that we need more desks, we need more classrooms, and some clinics. And I think with 10 million per constituency, we can do that. And we can now prioritize where there is a better productive capacity. In CEC, which is a revolving fund, there is more, it sits as an asset. It's not a sunk cost, it sits as an asset. So when you put more money there, money will be revolving. Even if the repayment rate is at, for example, 70% or 60%, government will only be topping up. The next wave now to create jobs and fight this poverty and unemployment and inequalities lies in entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is driven by financing. Sir, you've been at the graduate school of business. We have now educated entrepreneurs. They lack financing. So if we want to create jobs faster and fight this poverty and inequalities, I can tell you in the last budget, which was about 167 billion, we should have put 10 billion in CEC. And they should have offices across the country. Put young project managers, give them performance indicators that, you will only be on your job if your repayment is around 70%, so that they give money to the people with viable projects. Then the country can get to work. So the money is there, but it has been put in the wrong priorities and more in consumption. Even before debt restructuring, if we can increase CDF, we could have increased the CEC, so that money is put where there is a real productive capacity, where jobs are created and wealth is created. And we don't waste labor. These young graduates are being wasted. Labor is the most important factor of production. Of course, we have land and minerals. If we don't give them access to financing, we are wasting the most important asset, which is labor. Young people are just loitering. They just need financing. Some want to be farmers, some want to go into trading, some want to go into small-scale mining, but financing is missing. For me, really, even 10 billion is nothing. If we were serious as a country, all of us, in that parliament, we should have put at least 10% of the budget in Citizen Economic Empowerment Fund. Then the country can get to work. Then you will see now the kwacha strengthening because it's production. Even in debt restructuring, it is important, yes, so that we have a fiscal space, and then also the debt will be manageable on year to service. But the real silver bullet to this debt situation lies in a growing economy, so that we can outgrow the debt. And that's why even IMF is wondering, why are we not putting serious domestic measures to grow the economy? There is no silver bullet from IMF. There is no silver bullet from debt restructuring. But the silver bullet lies in the right prioritization in our budget. Put our money where there is higher productive capacity, not in consumption. Historically, Zambia runs the most expensive bureaucracy. I wish next time we'll bring the yellow book, I show you how this country, basically the whole budget is financing the top brass of government. It's despicable. And then the people at the front line, in the service delivery, like doctors, teachers, nurses, they're getting peanuts. Yet the bureaucrats who just drink tea are so bloated, the structure is so bloated at the top, and there are all manner of trappings. That's where the over 50% of the budget is going. The trappings of the bureaucrats and not the service delivery, guys who are at the front line of service delivery. So we need public sector reforms that will release the resources to facilitate growth of the economy.
You're watching Economic Briefcase on Camnet TV. You can call us on the numbers now that are appearing on the screen. You can also send us text messages on the same numbers. We've opened the lines. You can please send your, you can call in and you'll be able to discuss the topic that is at hand. Honorable, I watched the press briefing.
Yes.
Here and there. In terms of economic direction, what are your takeaways?
First of all, I think when our friends in government, when they went into power, they did not really reset things. There are no serious reforms that will begin to change the course of the country. Yes, there could have been some fiscal discipline, but fiscal discipline alone is not enough. But the prioritization to create the actual resource and put it to the productive sector. And therefore, they have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do. There are a lot of low-hanging fruits which government can take advantage of, and that is not happening. We need a bit kind of radical reforms that will reset the country. Put priorities right, put money in the right places so that we can have a growing economy that can create more resources. So I can tell you that they have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do.
Any takeaways from where we're going from the president?
Well, I think the president has good intentions. Maybe like previous governments. I think intentions have not been a problem in this country. But the how. I've given you a few examples that are doable here. That there are clear areas of where we can save resources and also put money where there is the highest multiplier effect. I mean, let me be a bit controversial here. Look at CDM. We all appreciate the increase. And the increase is to the extent of actually cropping the money from the different previously implementing agencies to CDF. For example, money for schools and education provision was handled by the Minister of Education line ministry right up to the district. The health budget was run by the Ministry of Health, by the experts, but all the money now has been put in CDF. Now the danger with CDF is that the MP is seen to be at the center. Now constitutionally, an MP is not an executor of development. Strictly speaking, it is the executive arm that cascades to the district. The MP's job is to provide oversight. They may also sit in the council, they sit in parliament, of course. Now they're not sitting in the council by constitution, to just set the priorities. But they must not come too close to implementation because it is actually unconstitutional.
Our first caller.
Yeah.
Your name and where you're calling from?
Calling from Rwanda.
Yes, sir.
My name.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Barbara.
One, the cry concerning this soya thing. I mean, why can we rely on this soya on behalf of someone and put it somewhere and then find an export market? You mean we cannot find that export market? That's my question. Number two, on the gold. What are we doing with our gold in this country? Of course, there was this MHI we were trying to get this gold. But this time it's completely silent. Don't you think there is a lot of money in that gold? And number three, there is this vigilance we were talking about recently. What has happened is that people who are getting this vigilance.
Thank you. Soybeans, Sujilite.
Yes, you see, a government has the capacity to create an export mechanism, even now, for soybeans that will ring-fence the pricing. It's possible. But you know what happened last year? I followed the soybeans issue. Last year, the last marketing season, the market opened soybean at 10 kwacha per kg, soybeans prices. Then there was a connivance between the oil processors in Zambia and the ministry concerned, and they created an artificial ban on exports. Within the same farming season last year, the price dropped from 10 in the open market to 6. It was only later that FRA came on board to buy at 11, but limited quantities. So we have been really causing havoc because of lack of clarity and lack of predictability in this sector. That's why I'm saying that here, as Cabinet, you are doing very well to provide these numbers here, indicators. And I think next time now, play the numbers so that people see the volatility in the prices of the key commodities from our people's economy. So it's possible to strike deals now. That's why we have embassies. They can structure now. It doesn't require so much time. The embassies abroad, they must quickly put adverts for soybeans. Even now, we can put international adverts so that here, even FRA can be contracted, though being a food security agency, they can be contracted for now before we create this export agency or marketing agency to buy on behalf of government to link the farmers to the export market. They have the sheds. That can happen very quickly. Last year, there was so much demand for soybeans in the neighboring countries, not even very far, but there was a silent ban on exports by playing around with the export permits. The moment export permits are restrictive, you are banning exports because as a farmer, I must just go there as a formality to pay for a permit and get it. Pay and get your permit and you export. But when you apply and say, come tomorrow, that itself is a restriction. Now, coming to the questions raised here, gold, Sujilite, and even, let me say, emeralds. We must learn from the neighboring countries. These are strategic economic minerals. This should benefit the country, not individuals. What our friends did is say in Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, when they discovered their diamonds, these areas became restricted for accountability. And the country as a whole has benefited. Botswana itself, from 1969, when they started mining diamonds, the diamond has provided a strong contribution to that economy, to a point where Botswana became the center of diamond trade in the world because of a better, mining regime. But here, all manner of cadres are involved in these key minerals. This is theft. This is plunder. Emeralds are near to diamonds. Why haven't we benefited from emeralds? Areas where you discover this, you restrict them. If you go to Namibia, you go to Botswana, South Africa, the areas of diamond mining are restricted areas. And the government has an agency which partners with a player in this sector, say on a 50-50, to mine diamonds. That's what they did in Botswana. Although in the trading, De Beers was controlling a bigger chunk. The current president is asking that, no, can you give us 25% of the diamonds we also market? In Namibia, NAMDEP is a partnership between government and, and De Beers. In this country, is all manner of confusion. That's why even emeralds have not added value to this country, because there is under declaration. Sujilite is just a confusion. Gold is a confusion. Gold, we can do it on our own. This SMI doesn't even need partners. Make these areas restricted areas and put security parameters, and we have enough agencies to do that. And let the CCM get technology, because this is no brainer to process gold. Then we can have the quantities and we can see how we can leverage on these resources to boost the national treasury, which is so important to support the farmers, to support all players in this country, the entrepreneurs. The government must be given the resources to enable an economy.
Our second caller. Your name and where you're calling from? Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is Emmanuel from Rwanda.
Yes, Emmanuel.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Emmanuel, you can go ahead. Yes, we're able to hear you. You can go ahead and make a contribution.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, Mr. President.
Good evening, my brother. And how are you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wanted just to ask on the topic which you were talking about, especially when it comes to export of commodities in our country, and also the issue for soybean, which the operator has announced that they want to buy soybean to just constitute buy them. Mr. President, I want to be honest with you, and also Mr. Badok and the brother. We are facing a lot of challenges as Zambian people, especially when it comes to issues of governance in this country. And economically, we are suffering. And sometimes I wonder, and I see just to reflect or what to think about where we are going as a country. Because the economic lookout, especially when it comes to the PNUP government, I don't know where we are taking. So things are wet, things are difficult. I don't know. If this economy which they are giving, so they are just telling towards that people who help us. It's our problem. When the economy is your economy. Please, have you tried to decide this economy, your fellow economy, especially president and also
much.
Our colleague is complaining that things have become.
First of all, you know, Doc and Mr. Japar, you see, we have long-standing problems. The problem we have is that we are not learning from experience. Let me see, without history, we cannot project. So we need to step backwards and just say that we made serious mistakes when we went multi-party and we liberalized the economy. Even the foundation that was created under with UNIP at a great cost. We literally destroyed it and sold away our industrial base. We should have built on that. I asked people, when were jobs and employment created? Unemployment in this country was created in the 1990s. What you see now are the after effects. You go to Mansa, there was Mansa batteries. In this country, the black government, through an agency, a parastatal, they were making batteries for manganese. Can you imagine if you had continued? Today, the whole technology is driven by batteries. We're talking about electric batteries. We had already started the basic, the basic issues of making batteries. We are making batteries and exporting batteries from manganese. That closed, and we began to export soil. People dig manganese soil and export, and it's processed in South Africa. What kind of an economy is that? So I think we must all agree as Zambians, we have messed up, all of us. First, we must admit that we have messed up, and let's begin to talk to each other. And there's too much politics. That's why for me, I don't talk about personalities and so on. We must raise our politics to the politics of issues, not personalities, not parties. I mean, belonging to this party or that party, whether ruling or opposition, is not special. And I think let us see ourselves as Zambians first, and begin to have dialogue and agree on some issues. You can never develop as a country if you have no shared vision. When you look at Americans, they have an American dream. And any government which comes in, you only compete on how to enhance that, not to bring your own funny vision. If, for example, you made me president, you cannot consign yourself to my vision. I must champion the national vision. We have the Vision 2030.
Yes.
That document was well crafted, and there were parameters there. We have abandoned it. Each one who comes wants to do their own things. I'm just coming from the airport to pick up somebody there. We borrowed money to that airport. Yeah, there was no need for that. The old structure should just have been remodeled. You understand? So we are making a lot of mistakes, and each government that comes in wants to undo what the previous did. Now, the undoing of counter legacy is what has brought all these problems, and it brought the most toxic politics. I'm happy that time you apologized to Dr. Kaunda before he died. What we did to Kaunda, after what he did to this country and to the region, was unacceptable. It's tantamount, as you say, to a curse. So we must not continue as a cursed country that does not appreciate its foundation. The father of the nation, Dr. Kaunda, was abused by the very beneficiaries of his policies. The man with his colleagues who fought the liberation struggle here, and I'm happy today is African Freedom Day, and we defeated the West to free our neighbors. We helped to free the people in Angola, in Mozambique, in Zimbabwe, in Namibia, in South Africa, at a huge cost. Kaunda completes the liberation struggle and his friends. Now we are to go to economic liberation. We remove the stewards and we begin to insult them. And we destroy the economic foundation they put in. In Kafue there, the big employer was the Kafue Textiles, the Mulungushi Textiles in Kabwe. We destroyed support to farmers. There was no feed. There was no raw material for textile industries. So they collapsed because there's no cotton production. Under Kaunda, he was supporting cotton production, and therefore there was raw materials for textiles. And textiles, you know, it's labor intensive. It creates a lot of jobs. Kafue was an employment city through two key institutions, NCZ and Kafue Textiles. The Mulungushi Textiles, and that company that was making, bags, Yeah, Kabwe something.
We have another caller. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Fred, calling you from Deloitte.
Okay.
Yes, I've been following the program. And good evening, President HAMUDUDU.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
Fine, fine. And I don't know if the other man is Mr.
This one.
The other.
This one is Mr. Njapao.
Okay, Mr. Japao. Yeah, my concern is that sometimes you've been talking about how Botswana's progressed using the local resources like diamond houses developed, and you were putting up saying if we had utilized these things well in Zambia as well, we might have been better. But my concern is, you see, I believe that most of the time, you know, people give these ideas, but when it comes to implement them, I don't know why we are failing as a country. It's more than now, we don't know if it's 50 years of independence, but yet we talk about boasting, we have Kajam, whatever, you know, supply the biggest emerald, but the country still remains poor. So I believe let's work towards what we say so that these things can change the face of this country. With what we have, I don't think we can even be begging for handouts from these foreign countries or whatever. So I support what you are saying.
Thank you very much.
And Doc, just to tag on what he's saying here, it comes to what you have been calling all along. And now, for me, I've appreciated your position, Dr. Amazoka. In the ownership of our economy, including mines, we must have the biggest stake as nationals. If we have made mistakes before, we must stop making those mistakes. How come, for example, the owners of those mines today have more cash than the country? And they have used our mines as capital to open mines abroad and create investments to a point where these guys are more liquid than a country. So we have learned a lesson here that we, in the next mining projects like these golds that is discovered, even in Kasensele, now there's in Pika, there's in Mumbwa, as much as possible, as an issue of national patriotism, government should have not less than 50% in any new mining project. Some of them we must own them ourselves. If you go to Chile, which was really at a par, Chile has been a good example of Zambia. First of all, population almost the same, size almost the same, and then copper-based economies. In 1973, Zambia and Chile were at par in copper production, 500,000 tons per annum. What Chile did, of course, they liberalized, and under a dictator who took over the country through a barrel of the gun, Pinochet. Pinochet invited, of course, investors, but they maintained a state mine. As a standard, Codelco now, owned by the Chilean government, is the most advanced copper mine in the world, owned by government. And it's a standard. Then they will not cheat you because you are also involved in mining. And that's why, like, for example, Mopani. Mopani was supposed to own it. Don't even bring foreigners there. You were talking about the 20% partial. I was also, because when I went to Parliament, I was young. I'm on NAPSA.
Yes.
So I've been contributing in NAPSA. And I got like a 20%. And I did what you said, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I just cleared them. I got it and we ate it. Yes. You understand? It's our money.
Me, it lasted, I think...
of course.
An hour in the account.
Yeah, but of course we must invest it. But here is the issue. I mean, this is on a lighter moment. Look at the money. How much money was envisaged to go for 20%? Is this 12 billion?
12 billion quarter.
Now, if they ask us, okay, you guys, can you sign up for the 12 billion to go to Mopani?
And you have,
Or even NAPSA itself.
That's almost $1 billion, eh?
Yes, NAPSA itself putting money in Mopani. We must own one mine as a standard, so that we can cash in this new wave of windfall prices in the copper. We must own one mine. Look at Chile. Yeah, they are private mines, yes, but the biggest mine is owned by government. And you know what happened? In 1973, the development indices of Chile were the same. We were almost parallel. Same population, same development indices, copper-based economy, and same size of the country. Chile, because of the right policies in mining, today Chile, you cannot compare with Zambia. In the 2000s, the production of copper in Chile has gone to over 5 million tons. We have not hit 1 million tons, isn't it? And that's why you are seeing that. That's why you see Chile now. Chile has become a developed world. Zambia has become a poor. And it's to the extent of how much we own the key resources. Do you know why it's important for government to own these resources, these mines? It's because you don't just get the taxes, but you get the real thing, the dividends. Botswana has been benefiting not just from the taxes, but from the dividends. So we must be very careful with this foreign direct investment. We must not reach a point where the economy is owned by foreigners. We will be slaves in our own country. And then money will be externalized. These people have not come here to help us. They have come here to make money. Full stop. Now, like mining, which is a wasting asset, these guys dig these holes and they take their money out, and when the minerals are over, we will remain poorer than we were before. We will even have regretted for mining. That's why people are saying, maybe we leave some minerals in the ground and wait for more patriotic children. Our children maybe might be more patriotic. So we need to agree that these resources here are owned by government. Government, for example, now must control the exploration areas. They're the ones who give exploration areas. They can even buy them from individuals for the national good. So ownership, key ownership of these resources for government is very important for our future survival, for our future growth, so that a government can have enough resources all the time to come to the rescue of its citizens, to lift the people from poverty through the different initiatives, such as financing, such as creating marketing agencies to link a poor producer to a market far away. Government must always have that capacity, and you can only have capacity if you are a bigger player in the key things happening in the economy. Right now, what taxes do we get from the mining sector? There's nothing.
I saw a graph today of mine tax contributions dropping. I think I saw it from the president of PEP, not PEP, Kasonde.
Yes. That was given by Bank of Zambia, that the tax returns from the royalties from the mines is going down because we have given them concessions. Now we've given them concessions, but there's no increased production. The kwacha is weakening, they're not getting the money. So we are net losers. How I wish I was in the parliament when President Manawasa introduced the windfall tax. How I wished we had stuck to that. Within the 1 year, in fact a few months of the year, because President Manawasa introduced windfall tax in April, and he died in August. So Manawasa and Magande, Minister of Finance Magande, were very strong. I remember I sat in that committee to review the development agreements and introduce windfall tax and the increase of mineral royalty from 0.6 to 3%. I was in that committee. I could see our friends who are running mines, they are literally coming pink into the committees, wanting to blackmail government. And President Manawasa and Manager said we are not moving any inch backwards. We have done the numbers. Within that few months that the windfall tax ran, and the windfall receipts were being put in a special account in the Bank of Zambia, in the mineral revenue account. Within 1 year, less than 1 year, we had almost $500 million. Had we continued with the windfall tax, we could have had enough money in the mineral revenue account. And that one was almost like a sovereign wealth account. It was not put in the budget. It was put aside for the future. We reversed that, and we went to borrow.
And we are where we are.
We are where we are because...
Director, any messages for today? Good evening, Mr. President HAMUDUDU. Sir, talk about recruitments for defense and ZAR recruitment in the UPNG. People maybe want to be, or he has been recruited.
Yeah, but the issue is that you see the employment in government and defense, it's not really employment. Employment must come from the real economy. So government must put enough money for entrepreneurship. That's where jobs will come from. There is this misnomer that employing teachers and so on is employment. No, that is replacement due to natural attrition, you know. So we must not take employment in government or in defense as real employment. Yes, we need people there, but it is in the private sector where jobs will really come. But government must do something to generate jobs. One of it is financing. The other issue is market access, which as a country we are doing very poorly. So we hope that all we need there is transparency in the employment, but the employment in the government is always limited because government has limited carrying capacity. When government overemploys, it kills the private sector because it makes money expensive. It consumes all the money and the interest rates go up. The reason why interest rates are very high in this country is because of a consumptive government. If we want the economy to grow, we must reduce consumption in the government, including the number of workers in government. We need a lean, efficient, and well-paid civil service. At the rate we are employing too many people in government, we will always have a compromised civil service that is not motivated. So at the end of the day, we'll be net losers.
As we conclude, what's the effect of politics in Zambia to national economic development?
Doctor, if there is a biggest liability in this country, is a toxic politics. And I want to appeal to my colleagues in politics. These politics we are doing of name calling, of insulting each other, of talking about each other, will not take this country anywhere. We are in this problem because of toxic politics. And when you have toxic politics, you make short-term decisions because we want to please people than to think long-term. So the biggest liability we have as a country today, other things are consequences, is the toxic politics. If there's something Zambians must demand, is basically to ensure that they punish us politicians who are toxic. But eventually, we must learn the lesson of of toxic politics. That toxic politics has taken away the progress of our people. For me, really, I'm so disappointed. And now it's like normal to insult one another because of different opinions. And people have hired themselves as useful idiots. It's not an insult.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the right word.
It means you are...
Yes, I'm not insulting. People have hired themselves as useful idiots to defend me, to defend another politician. That is not right. We offer ourselves as servants in the politics to serve you. But if we hire ourselves as useful idiots, we will be the net losers. And we, the leaders, will benefit because we are at the table. And therefore, let us just do the right politics. Let's move to the politics of issues. In some issues, we must agree because we come from the same homes. How come in the church we agree? At funerals we agree. At weddings we agree. When it comes to politics, we are enemies simply because there is eating there. This whole toxic politics is driven by benefits. There are people who don't want others to benefit. And therefore, they must rubbish Dr. Habazoka because he poses a threat to their eating. That is retrogressive. Finally, even those who are doing that will be the net losers. We have seen it. It's not the first time we have seen this happening. And therefore, let's help our leaders to understand that we have work to do. And Zambia carries a huge backlog of unemployment, of poverty, of the growing inequalities. By the way, Doc, Zambia now is becoming one of the most unequal countries in the world. We are now almost reaching South Africa, whose inequality was born out of apartheid. And therefore, we will have very soon a very angry population because we have a very small population that is well off. The majority are in squalor. It's unsustainable.
You have heard it all. You are watching Economic Briefcase. Our guest today was Honorable HIGHVIE HAMUDUDU. We were discussing the economic state, or the state of the economy.
Means the same thing.
It means the same thing. You have heard takeaways. Toxic politics have a huge negative impact on national economic development. We need to unite. We've heard that we need to have, a bigger footing in our economy for us to move forward. We need to do, a lot of reforms, in the agriculture sector. We need agri-finance for our farmers to have credibility. We need to see how we can enhance Citizen Economic Empowerment Fund, probably use it instead of, CDF as, a major pusher of economic development. We've also heard that, overall, for us to develop, we need to unify. We need to do away with, toxic politics. This is not the last time we are inviting you, Honorable.
So there was also public sector reforms.
Public sector reforms, and I almost forgot the new government. I would like to call them new,
yes,
because they haven't yet reset. Yeah. Should reset so that they can start afresh and start moving forward.
Yes. Yes.
And also the middle lane, where good policies from the previous regime should be continued with the current regime, or finding a middle ground where policies remain constant for development purposes.
Yeah.
That was Economic Briefcase. Honorable, thank you very much. See you next week. Bye-bye.